But time also doesn't have this kind of division. It's just something conventional in physics, like clocks, those things. There's no such thing. Well, I know for sure. I've just been to places where there is no time.
So what, you didn't like it there?
It's scary, first of all, very scary. Really scary. That's already a kind of shamanic story. Well, it's cool.
Well, that's interesting.
I find this to be incredibly interesting and fascinating.
I'm watching this video right now and thinking, my God, what kind of drug trip is happening on the screen? And that's with my eyes shifting upward. It says here, Pasha techniques, last interview. Okay. Now everything is clear.
Yes, we're going to have a conversation about a rather well-known person. Tell me, are you familiar with him at all?
Well, I've heard about him, but I'm not familiar with his work, his ideas, or really anything he did. Well, let's watch the whole thing. Wouldn't you like to turn back again?
Then went back like that. We'll all go back there. We'll keep being born until we learn. We have no idea what we're talking about, what will be there.
He even altered his state of consciousness during this interview.
When you look at the big picture, he is quite a unique character with a very distinct personality, and he is widely known by everyone.
Listen, being a drug addict isn't unique. Let's be honest.
Obviously, if we remove it, it's not just like that. It goes out and that's it.
Clearly, there will be something else interesting there.
That's 100%. Maybe this is really just a ticket. We were granted a chance to see that such a story exists. But there might be something else hidden deep there. How many planets are there on Earth? Maybe we'll end up on each one. Sha, energy, this energy right here. Well, if you look at it from Castaneda's perspective, I just watched these videos, these bundles, and how people listen to them. There are different colors, enlightened people. They're all the same, fur, all sorts of things. They're ordinary. I've seen it, yes, and I believe in it. But I've seen it. Why shouldn't I believe? I don't care if someone doesn't believe in it.
Well, I see.
Before you go right ahead and start commenting now, are you actually at all familiar with, yes, this person?
No, I'm not familiar. But I've heard that he existed somewhere on our planet.
Well then, let me add a little bit of information. Pasha Technique was a well-known Russian rapper, songwriter, beatmaker, and music producer. Sadly, he is no longer with us today. He passed away after spending a full week in a coma, which doctors put him into artificially following drug poisoning. Well, so it is kind of a tragic end, as you noted, and as you saw, this person basically spent most of his life in an altered state. How would you comment on what he's talking about here?
When you use all sorts of different substances, it's no wonder that you see things. Yeah, he said it in a funny way. It's a shamanic pulse. Yes, shamanism in most cases is based on the use of various plants of power. And basically, that's no secret. No one is hiding it. Any shamanic ceremony involves someone consuming something, drinking something. On our planet, there are various chemical compounds that have different effects on the physical body. Accordingly, since we are unified in body, mind, and energy, you can influence energy through the physical body. All of this does take place. There are substances that our brain produces. These substances are also well known. This substance is called DMT. Depending on its concentration, that's how far you can travel out. In other words, this is what, on the physical level, reflects your altered state of consciousness. The more of this substance your body produces, the more your consciousness changes. Accordingly, the more you alter your consciousness, the more actively this substance is produced. All of this is also well known. It's not some kind of secret. You can simply study this and be aware of it. Yes, you can be afraid of this and reject it with all your might, but it does exist. To illustrate this, there is a diverse variety of botanical species thriving throughout the natural world that contain chemical secretions identical to those produced by the human pineal gland. If you use these plants instead of your pineal gland, you more or less get the same effects. All of this exists. All of this is real. But there is one problem. You can't turn this into mastery. You can't turn this into a skill. With this, you simply drain yourself, squeeze yourself dry, and die. because it's not you who is doing it. It's not being done using your body's own resources, not your own abilities. It just wrings you out. It's the same as doping for an athlete. For example, his body is not capable of making a certain breakthrough, but you can pump his body full of chemicals and his body will make that breakthrough. And then he will pay for it with his health. Heart attacks, strokes at 30 to 35 years old. How many people go into bodybuilding, for example, and at 16 years old lift 200 kilograms on the bench press? But by the age of 20, they're already disabled, and by 30, they might even die. In other words, we pay for all this with our future, and that future comes to an end. Take Pasha technique, for example. He's known not only as a rapper, but also as a drug addict and an alcoholic. And he burned up his own future. He burned it so much that that's it, he lost his life and his abilities. So, what is there to comment on here? This kind of thing happens to people too. And you don't have to be famous for it to happen, it just happens, that's all. And building your spiritual experience on doping is truly a straight path to death.
So, what he's saying in this video, it is quite evident that it's not coming from his own resources, but from performance-enhancing substances. But I would like us to carefully analyze and break down each of his phrases. He says that he feels the world on an entirely different and deeper dimension. So how do you see it? What could that mean?
He can blurt out anything, so why analyze it?
So is this his perception specifically because of an altered state from narcotic substances?
It's his way of saying that he's deeper or something. So he's emphasizing some kind of uniqueness about himself, but in reality, no, he just used and sees something. I can see things without using anything. I've trained myself to see without any aids at all, completely independent of the outside world. So what? Does that make me better? No, not at all. I just trained and that's it. Do I see more on some dimension? No, I see exactly the same as everyone else. It's just that I train something in myself, while another person having all the same abilities didn't train it. It's the same as how anyone can swim. They can swim. But some people swim and some people don't.
Could it be entirely possible that, for example, your vision or the vision of a person who has successfully developed this ability could be the same as Pasha's technique, but in his case, it's only artificially induced? But is it truly the same thing, or are these completely and fundamentally different states? Or are they somehow similar, like when you reach something through practices and when you come to it through certain substances? Well,
listen, it's not that straightforward. With the help of substances, you can see exactly the same way as with practice. You can, but it's not guaranteed that it will be like that. You can just as easily end up in hallucinations and see some total nonsense, things that are products of your own mind. And that's why even substances are divided into different groups. This is actually in medicine. Everything is there. So there isn't a single absolutely correct answer here. If a person in the shamanic world at least somewhat understands what they're doing and prepares for what they're about to do, most likely they will see the same thing as a person who doesn't use substances but practices. Most likely, more or less, they will see the same thing. If a person hasn't prepared in any way at all and just decides to take something in the hope of seeing the creator Daidesen, they might end up seeing completely meaningless hallucinations that have nothing to do with the reality that's happening. The same goes for, there are various tours with ayahuasca, with bufo, that is the specific type of frog, And so some people go there and see God, while others go and say, I'll never do that again in my life. It was some kind of demonic stuff. Why? Because some people are at least somewhat focused on the source, while others are so completely and utterly far from it that even these powerful substances simply won't help them at all. These are individual processes. Substances, they knock you out of your rigid state of consciousness and make your mind more flexible. Where this consciousness will step next depends on your inner attitude. When a practitioner focuses on something, it's already very hard to knock them off that vector. When a non-practitioner just pours something into themselves and they just get carried away, where will they end up? It's a complex and multifaceted, highly unpredictable process.
Actually, in this video, Pasha talks about how he was often in places where there is no time. So what could that be?
Listen, when you get carried far away, you can easily end up in a strange space where there is this illusion that there is no time there. In reality, time does exist. It just flows differently. There are time frames for a person. There are time frames for Brahma or Brahman, depending on how you pronounce it. There are time frames for Vishnu. The time frames for Vishnu compared to a human are basically infinite. But for Vishnu, these are quite real time frames. There is the primordial one who from the moment of manifestation until the moment of Mahapralaya is free from time. And how can you fit all of this into the mind, into logic? You can't fit it in any way, and there's nothing you can do about it while you're inside the realm of physics. You have to experience it. But when you experience it repeatedly under substances, when you practice it for decades and make it so that you can regularly go there, things still become clearer for you. You still start to understand that yes, time does exist there, but it moves a little differently, it flows differently. And as for the physical body, yes, it's as if it doesn't exist, as if it's infinity. In relation to the reality of the entire universe, time still moves there. In any case, all points in time, all timelines converge into a single point. This point is called Mahapralaya. This is a well-known event, but it's still very far away. Whether in the years of Vishnu or in the years of Brahma, this event is still very far away. Yet it exists, and this specific point in time signifies the final end of all that is brought into manifestation, and then the cycle begins anew. This takes place in life.
Do the various states we can experience at these specific points along these lines influence anything at all? It's just that specifically in this video, Pasha says that he has always felt fear. Does that mean anything? What's so frightening there? Listen.
We generally love to feel fear about nonsense. Everything new scares us. Everything frightening scares us. These are just habits. When you enter these spaces for the first time, well, yes, it can be scary. When you go there for, I don't know, the 500th time, it's like coming home. There's nothing to be afraid of. That's why there's even such a concept as enemies on the path of practice. The first enemy is, by the way, according to Carlos Castaneda, whom we also remember, the first enemy is fear. That can potentially stop you. The second enemy is clarity, the third enemy is power, and the fourth enemy is old age. But for Pasha, this final enemy is no longer a threat.
He also discusses the concept of reincarnations and explains how we continually return to this world. This continues until we finally go through the specific life lessons that we are truly meant to learn. How do you see it?
Well, that's not true. In most cases, people who were born in the Kali Yuga, and right now it is the Kali Yuga, are not going anywhere anymore. At this point, their cycle of journeying as a fragment of consciousness comes to an end. Yes, there are unique cases, there are exceptions to the rule, but in most cases, in the overwhelming majority of cases, a person who ends up in the Kali Yuga will not go anywhere else anymore. They completely contract and lose the ability to perceive as such. Although I repeat, there are unique cases. There are cases of injustice.
He also touches on the topic of essence and energy. That is, he says that he saw something, some entity in various forms. What do you think he could have encountered from your perspective?
Listen, yes, perceiving energy is not a complicated thing. If a person directs their attention there even just a little, they will see something. As far as I understand, he was trying to talk about cocoons and about the lines of the world. He probably just forgot these terms. They are also found in Carlos Castaneda's works. And yes, you can see these lines of the world without any substances if you practice. And you can see cocoons without any substances as well. But at the same time, if you set out to see all this and take something that alters consciousness, you'll see it too. But that won't be your own achievement. It will be a kind of doping that deprives you of vitality. In other words, it creates the conditions where you operate in overload mode. And for that overload, you always end up paying with your life, your vitality, and your future. When a person practices without the help of doping, they rely on their own resources and do not lose vitality. When you push yourself beyond your limits with the help of certain substances, you are simply getting closer to death. Yes, you might see something, but it won't help you in any way.
I'm not sure if you are going to like this particular question, but I know for a fact that you have such a deep ability to feel and perceive other people on a very deep level, that you can actually see where a specific fragment of a person's consciousness has ended up. So, I would really like you to do that for us right now, specifically for this person, so that his audience, because I think people would be interested to know what happened to him, exactly with his fragment of consciousness, where it ended up, and what happened next.
That's amusing. Even when considering the profound immorality of his personal life and the cold statistical harshness of his current situation, he is still, somewhere deep within, drifting along with the faint but persistent possibility of achieving a new level of perception. So at this moment in time, as a fragment of consciousness, he continues to perceive. In other words, he hasn't lost this ability, he hasn't turned into a black dot, which is what most people turn into. But where he goes next is his choice, and he hasn't made that choice yet.
And why could that have happened? I mean, it would seem, as you say, given the lifestyle he led, not exactly maybe a healthy one before.
Exceptions to the rules, there's nothing you can do about it.
But does this say something about his, let's say, I don't really know, some inner light? Or I don't really know?
No. He continues to exist in the cartoon, he continues to exist in Brahma's dream. He really has absolutely no way to escape from this situation. What is so bright or high frequency about that? No, not at all. He has simply had enough. The ability to continue the process of perception, not to close off, not to tense up. And it's not some lofty qualities that are responsible for this. It is a deep sense of inner acceptance, inner harmony, and a profound inner calmness towards everything that is happening, that are the key factors responsible for this state of being. That is quite a separate and complex topic of conversation, what determines whether you tense up or stay relaxed. Continue on your own path, your journey through the cartoons. But if we really boil all of this down and express it in the simplest possible terms, it is truly the depth of love that ultimately determines it in your soul. If you have enough love, you'll keep watching the cartoons. If you don't have enough of it, no, you'll completely stiffen up in spasms.
Well, it looks like he had enough.
Well, for now, yes. And it's not a fact that I'll give the same answer tomorrow. Everything could change tomorrow.
Thank you for your answers. Be sure to write your questions and impressions in the comments. Maybe we'll answer them in the next video.
95% of people don't even realize that within them lies a power that grants access to any possibility, a successful business, strong relationships, health, and self-fulfillment. It allows you to hear your soul and remember your true nature, your divine nature. This power is your energy. When it is blocked, you feel tired and upset. But when your energy flows freely and without obstacles, you are full of strength and capable of achieving any goal. Everyone can feel the movement of energy in their body. Are you ready to see this for yourself right now? I've prepared a practice where, in just 3 minutes, you'll become aware of the state of your energy and be able to activate the inner power that has been blocked for many years. The practice is available for a limited time. Right now, follow the link provided below the video and unlock the incredible source of power within yourself.